So like, I mean, we were talking literally just now before actually recording, and then we were talking about how you're literally only 16. When did you first start developing that interest of like, dang, let me go into this field? Obviously, it wasn't. I'm assuming it's not directly into the music industry, but when were you like, okay, let me just pick a camera up,
Yep.
start
Yeah.
shooting?
So when I was like 7, 8, I was homeschooled, and for
Mhm.
school trips, we'd go to the Field Museum in downtown Chicago
Yeah.
with my mom and my grandma, and they always brought like a little what do you call it, an instant film camera, like one of those. I forgot the name of it. It's like food. It's not Fuji. Kodak. One of those Kodak
Kodak.
ones.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I remember one day, I don't remember, my mom told me. She said that I asked if I could take the camera, and I just started taking pictures, and uh, I would just remember loving it. I remember just like, oh wow, just positive feelings around taking photos. That was
Yeah.
when I was like 8 years old, I think. Uh, and I mean, it was kind of not really something I thought much about. It was just something cool. And then around the time I think I was like 9 or 10, uh, I was getting into Nerf guns, and
Mm.
I was watching YouTube videos with like Nerf War skits and POV videos, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I started to make Nerf War videos with my friends, and that was a ton of fun. I was like filming on the iPad, I think, like my mom's iPad, and my friends. We were just having fun, but I was like getting super serious with it, and I was like trying to make it legit, and my friends were just screwing around. I just remember like trying to be that bossy director, like, "Yo, we got to make this happen," and being like
Just
10
make it
years
look
old.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I learned how to edit an iMovie on the iPad like
Hmm.
10, 11 years old, and
Yeah.
me and my friends started a little YouTube channel, and we started making like vlogs and that kind of thing, just like neighborhood kids. And uh, from there, it grew into doing YouTube videos on my own. I got a GoPro, uh, had that for a while, and then for Christmas, I asked for a DSLR, Canon Rebel T6i. Shout out, still have it today. Shot my first music video on it. That thing, I mean, honestly, like it took me a long way. That was like 12, 13. Yeah, yeah. So I started taking pictures with that. I learned how settings work, all that jazz, and I started doing a couple photo shoots with some friends. And the first photo shoot I did, I entered it at a local fair in Sandwich, a sandwich fair, and I won some awards for that. And that was kind of my moment where I was like, oh, this is something like I think I kind of want to try doing a little bit more seriously, or at least put
Hmm.
more thought into it. Because before it was just a hobby, just out there, right?
Right. Right.
But I was like, oh, cool. I was like, dang, I think I'm talented with this, or I have something there. Uh, that was really cool to do. Around that time, okay, I had a YouTube channel with like 80 some videos. I'd learned how to shoot, how to edit, uh, how to do running guns to an extent, because I was always trying to do like cinematic B-roll and
Mm.
add
Yeah.
dimension to the vlogs. It taught me how to shoot, taught me how to edit,
Right.
and
Right.
so that was kind of the start. Around that time, like around the time I made my last video, uh, was starting to get more into like a professional viewpoint to filmmaking. It was when my focus started shifting from photography to film. I just kind of lost that passion for the YouTube videos, uh,
Mm.
and filmmaking, just like as a craft, started to become more interesting to me. Uh, I had the opportunity to go to Central America for a couple months with the missions organization, and they didn't have any camera team or anything like that. So they kind of let me shoot a bunch of videos with them, and they were doing dope stuff,
Mm.
going into schools and like spreading the gospel with kids who are like really underprivileged and like wanting to commit suicide, and just like there's so many kids are like super depressed there, and I just got to
Mm.
like document some stories, and that was my first time doing like documentary stuff, or doing work for a client, quote unquote, even though it was
Yeah.
unpaid and just for passion. uh,
Hmm.
I was like crafting stories with something meaningful, and that's when I really fell in love with the art of filmmaking as a means to share a story that has meaning and can affect people on a deep personal level. That's where my love of film really like started to take off. And I met this guy named Bjorn Amundsen, and he's just kind of been like a mentor for me ever since. This guy, he's a professional cinematographer, works on really high end commercial stuff, documentary, some narrative work. He shot video with like Arnold Schwarzenegger and LeBron James. He's gone all over the world shooting like documentaries in Africa and Asia, and like just showing the lives of like underprivileged people, and then doing like commercial stuff. And he's just
Mhm.
super talented. And he introduced me to like film sets, like what is a film set, and I got to realize like there's so much I didn't know, because around that point I didn't have my mind on anything higher, really. I was just like,
Mhm.
oh, there's this new gimbal, and I want to get this
Yeah,
lens and
yeah.
that kind of thing. But my focus and my perspective shifted to a much more elevated place, where I saw what was possible for a shoot, and how it involved a crew, and how it involved serious planning and pre-production, uh, and just all these department roles and all that stuff was new to me. And that was around February of 2019. Um, so that really motivated me to start doing my own like work seriously, getting paid for it. So that's when I
Mhm.
started shooting music videos. I shot my first music video April April 26th, 2019. I
Mhm.
was on the T6i, and it's different than a lot of people who shot their first music video, because I already had a lot of, I mean, relatively, I had
Yeah.
experience with videography and that type of thing. So um, it's not that, yeah, it's not the same as most people who shoot their first music video with like,
Yeah.
who don't really, are still learning.
Yeah,
Um,
you
so
knew basically how to do
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. But still, like that was when I was 14, uh, and it's just really gone off. Like almost exactly 1 year later, I was in Atlanta with Laka and Brandon, and I DP'd uh, part of the 2K Baby music video "Old Soul" featuring G Herbo. I got to DP that like 1 year after I made my first video,
That's crazy.
and that's like probably one of my biggest achievements. And just like seeing that 1 year progression, that was a pretty cool feeling to experience for sure.
That's super cool,
I
man.
got
That's
started.
super cool just because it's like I feel like it's just such a different story in the sense that like I don't know, like it's just like you literally came from like you literally just wanted to shoot just because it's just as a hobby, but
Yeah.
like it just happened to turn into something like crazy. And I'm sure there's like a lot more stuff that you still have to do, you still want to do,
Oh,
and it's
million
like
percent.
yeah, but it's like literally from like what like a couple years ago, like you
Hmm.
wouldn't have even thought of this as like a
No,
profession, but it's
definitely not.
like now like you could see like oh like I could do this like
Yeah.
forever now basically.
Hmm.
But dude, that's crazy. That's super dope, bro.
Thank you, man.
That's super
Yeah,
dope. So what's been like the craziest set you've been at so far?
definitely the one I just did on Saturday the 23rd. Uh, we had 15 crew members, like what 10 extras, like Corley and his crew. We had like a production designer build out this awesome set for like a dinner scene, and then we're shooting like in a forest, and then at a house, and it was all very planned out. Like Chris
Hmm.
and I gained a huge level of understanding. Chris was directing.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
we gained a huge understanding of the importance of pre-production, just because we'd really done it and we saw how it turned out. uh, it was by far the best shoot I've ever been on. Got to work with an amazing team. Could not have
Yeah.
done it without them. So many people just being very generous with their time and their equipment to come out and help bring the video to life. And it was an incredible experience. So I'll never forget it. Yeah, but that was the biggest set.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope, bro. Are you ever I feel like this is probably like when you were first getting started, but
Yeah,
did you kind of ever feel kind of self-conscious about your age that you were like, "Oh, I'm like the youngest person here," or was it ever or
it
was that
was.
even like a thought?
Yeah, it was an awareness. Uh, I try to be a very self-aware person, and I realized, I noticed how that would sometimes change the dynamic of things. Uh,
Mm,
so what I generally do is I don't disclose my age usually until either they ask, or if
Yeah.
I'm feeling comfortable with them, I'll do it at the end of the shoot. And I love doing it. People just always have the best reactions, and it's just
Yeah.
something kind of fun to
Yeah.
it's just kind of entertaining. But yeah, I mean, definitely, people will treat you differently if they find out at the beginning, because imagine you're say a second camera assistant, and
Hmm.
your job is to swap out lenses and switch batteries, and like, dang, this kid's at the time like 15,
Hmm.
and then bam, you have a $40,000 lens. That is not
Yeah.
something
Right.
that you want an irresponsible person to be using. So
Mm.
that was some of the issue, and then as I've grown into doing more shoots at the top level, like as a DP or director, sometimes people, I haven't encountered it yet. Thankfully, I've been surrounded by a lot of very positive, supportive people,
Mhm.
but um, there have been times where it borders on uh, kind of downplaying me because of my age. I don't know if that's the
True.
right
True.
expression,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
you're not regarded as an equal when you are an equal or even superior to them
True.
on a
Right.
film
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
Uh, and sometimes, like, I actually do. They have a reason to be doing that. I have done something incorrect, or like, but it's all part of the learning experience. And just
Right.
because you are an experience like that doesn't necessarily give you the right to be a jerk. I'm not saying anyone's done
Mm.
that exact
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just giving kind of like a reference point for what
Yeah.
could happen in the right
Right.
scenario. So like I said,
Right.
I've been super fortunate to been surrounded by almost entirely great supportive
Mhm.
people on all my shoots. Uh, but I've heard stories of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like as long as you have the confidence and you're
Hmm.
like, because like even if you make a mistake, it's like everyone makes mistakes, and like you
Exactly.
said, it's part of the learning process. But it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing. At the
Hmm.
end of the day, like I know exactly what I'm doing. So I think, and then also like, yeah, I think it's just I feel like there's very few people who are successful, but then they're also jerks at the same time. Like
Yeah.
obviously you get the rare few, but like especially in like the music industry, I feel like, or
Hmm.
like at least from like people I've been talking to, it's like everyone like either A is like super supportive or they're like, okay, like this is kind of how you do it. You don't move like that or whatever. So I think that's
Sure.
why it's is dope. Like I think it's a great like field to be in a way.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. And on the topic of like just being successful, I've been like reading books on, successful people, and
Hmm.
what brings someone to success. What did they do to get there? And when you break it down to almost a psychological standpoint, and their thought process going into it, it is almost always fueled by a burning desire for something, a strong
Hmm.
passion for it, and then a plan to
Right.
achieve it. Um,
Right. Yeah.
so I believe this very strongly, that whatever you ask out of life is possible.
Hmm.
You just need to have that passion for it, and you need to come up with a plan to do it, because some people will have very large, big goals and aspirations, yet they're not taking the steps
The
to
work. Yeah.
achieve their goals. So that's why I say, like, those two steps, really anything can happen. And
Hmm.
um, I've been super fortunate and blessed to have been surrounded by the right people. Uh, Getting into this, so, like, only been doing this for a short time, and uh, making big steps and progressions. I definitely do attribute a lot of that just to the great people who I've been surrounded with, like Bjorn, and as I mentioned before, and Chris, and so many other people. Yeah.
Hmm.
Specifically, I'll give a huge shout out to my mom, because I would not be able to do any of this stuff I've done without her. Um,
Hmm.
I know it's kind of off topic a little bit, but like, I would not be able to get myself to any of these shoots without her. I She's the biggest supporter I could ask for.
Yeah.
So
That's
so definitely a big shout out to her. And
yeah. Shout out moms. Right?
yeah, definitely shout out moms everywhere, like, for real.
Yeah.
They're the
So
OGs.
like now I want to ask you like in 5 years, what's your kind of what's your I don't want to say your goals because I'm sure that's probably going to change, but like what do you want to have accomplished by then?
It's such a long progression, and like, um, so many levels to get to that point. Um,
Yeah.
and I think like the more I do this, the more I have perspective that there's so much I don't know. Uh,
Mhm.
and if I'm completely honest, I don't know half or a quarter or an eighth of the steps to get to where I want to be at the very
Yeah.
end doing movies.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but I'm going one step at a time and figuring out how to do it. And another note that I'm not quite sure yet how it would play into making movies as a DP. But I'm very big into being smart with money and diversifying income and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And
For sure.
I'm definitely working and learning on how I could take my passions in the film industry and apply that to a structured industry or some kind of business, a company that works in film that I could take an executive position in and be making more money with less work.
Yeah.
Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like, um, really, like, it's just great to be able to have that diversified income. Like,
Right.
if think about all the people in the film industry who stopped working because of COVID and they had no income to back them up, and you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just not being smart with their money. That's something that I want to avoid.
Yeah.
I want to be able
Definitely.
to have a family and be able to, you know, take care of them and let them have nice things, that kind of thing. Like, I
Exactly.
definitely I definitely have a strong desire to uh, be well off, basically.
Yeah. Definitely.
And
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
the end goal. It's not the end goal, but your passion, what you're
Exactly.
really passionate about, that type of thing will get you there. Uh,
Right. Right.
and I also really like real estate and the stock market, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like real estate could definitely play into the film industry. Like Jacob Owens, this guy out in L.A., Arizona. He has this. He has a few different companies. One of his companies works with building Airbnbs specifically for film productions. So he can offer it
Dang.
to low budget, music videos and short films, whatever, who need a film set location, but don't have all the resources to build a set on a soundstage. Um, so I feel like that could be a great way to diversify my income, is like through building sets, um, maybe even doing like a rental house or something like that, where you can rent out gear, um, shoot your sets, and then make it even a production company, something like that. Like,
Mhm.
um, one of probably my biggest like business icon in the film industry would be like Steven Spielberg. What is his net
Yeah.
worth? Like $3 billion. He owns DreamWorks, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's somehow heavily pitched in that, and DreamWorks does massive productions.
Yeah.
And he obviously owns some kind of part of that company, and whatever profits they're pulling in, he pulls in as well. So all these
Yeah.
other people are
Yeah.
doing work, but since he started it, that's making
Yeah.
him money
Yeah. Is what
the end of the day.
residual. Yeah.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
So
Yeah.
he's
That's
someone I
not
really
wrong.
want to study. I want to study him a lot and learn what
Mhm.
he did to make it. Just considering how rich he is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. That's dope,
Mhm.
bro. I like that. Like you have your head in that space too. It's like, okay, I know like this is what I'm passionate about, but it's like you need something at the end of the day to fund it. Where like
Exactly.
you don't have to work on it daily, but it's like, okay, I'm able to make something out of nothing, and then I get to spend the rest of my time doing whatever I want. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's dope.
So
Dope.
many creatives fall into a trap of not knowing how to make money with what they love, and
Yeah,
uh, financial literacy is not taught
exactly.
today. Uh,
Hmm.
so all it takes is a bad hand to be dealt to you
Yeah,
with family
exactly.
maybe not having money or something, and then you're in a tough spot.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
and that's just something I don't want as a filmmaker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
And I just love the aspects of generosity and just giving to people who need money. And like, I've seen people where I believe in them and I could see how $1,000 could change their life forever,
Yeah, for
something
real.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to be able to in a position, I want to be in the position to be able to help people who I care about, and
Hmm.
be able to
Yeah,
build people up, and really just encourage people to do what they love, and how to be smart with their money, and that type
yeah.
of thing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, man, that's super dope, bro. But yeah, no,
appreciate it.
I feel like that's a great way to end it, just on a super positive note, man.